I believe we've got apologies from two people, Councillor Sandhurst and Councillor Edna Finneran, and I understand that Councillor Byram is here deputising for Councillor Finneran. I don't think there's any other apologies, no? Okay, so the next item, can I ask if anybody's got any declarations of interest that they need to declare in relation to any item on the agenda? No, okay, thank you very much. The next item is the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on pages 5 to 10. And these are the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of April this year. Can these be approved, please?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is item 4, Service Delivery Plan 2023 to 24, April to June update. And this is on page 11 of the agenda. And if I hand over to the Chief Fire Officer to take us through the report, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And the purpose of this report is to request that members scrutinise the performance of the service against the objectives and the performance targets outcomes as set out in the Service Delivery Plan 2023-24 for the period April to June 23. And it's recommended that members approve the attached Service Delivery Plan and the appendices 1 to 9 for publication onto the website, and the appendix 1 being the key performance of the service, and appendix 2 to 9 being the functional update from each one of the directors and the area managers in relation to their area of work. I'll move swiftly on to talk specifically about the performance indicators and the way they've been established. We have a key set of performance indicators which members can scrutinise performance against, and if warranted, look at a little bit deeper within the scrutiny arrangements that we've got in place for the authority. I'll talk about that performance shortly. And then we've got the functional plan updates, which are just draw members' attention to paragraph 14. And the service has adopted a new process for monitoring performance against the functional plan objectives with the revised blue, red, amber, green, grey, bright colour code, just for your information really in relation to actions completed to actions not yet started, just for clarity of your understanding. If I move on to then page 15 of the report, we've got to move on to the performance of the service over that period. And look, and what I would say is a real strong performance in relation to what we're delivering on behalf of our communities. You move through particular areas in regards to the number of incidents that we've attended. The number of incidents that we've attended has reduced significantly, and I'll explain why. You move through that onto total number of fires attended over the period. We've seen 144 fewer fires than we did in 2022. Again, really down to that really proactive preventative work that we do, and particularly that high visibility, that engagement into the communities of Merseyside and on the streets. Number of primary fires has also reduced over that same said period, and this is 71 fewer than it was in 2022-23. This is on page 19. And again, very much a combination of the work that we do around prevention, but equally the work that we do around protection, equally delivered by our operational response, our crews, in regards to engagement. So our operational crews do what we describe as simple operational audits, whereas our section officers do a little bit more detailed fire safety inspections, and those combined will see us reduce the number of primary fires we attend. If you flip across the pages onto page 20 and 21, the only area designated as red is in relation to the number of deliberate fires in unoccupied properties, which has increased by 1 against the previous time period. So probably describing that as red is a bit, bit challenging, maybe better to describe as amber. However, notwithstanding that, the performance has been good in relation to accidental dwelling fires and good in the number of deliberate dwelling fires in occupied properties. And what I would say, particularly in relation to the number of accidental dwelling fires, year on year we're seeing reductions, last year being the lowest number we've recorded. So the fact that we are now significantly improving that yet again has the obvious impact on protecting limiting the devastating impact of a fire in someone's home and house. Number of secondary fires was also reduced over that same period. Again, a strong performance, 75 less than it was in 2022-23 as a comparator. On page 24, we talk about the number of false alarms attended. Again, some of the false alarms, so false alarm good intents, a neighbour, calling the fire and rescue service because they think there's a fire or a smoke alarm actuating. We wouldn't want to put anyone off from doing that. But equally, we want to reduce the number of false calls that we receive from the service, and that will be an area of focus for us moving forward. Then over onto page 26 and page 27, talks about the kind of the strategic ambition to have our safe 10 appliances to all life risk incidents within 10 minutes. And as you can see, again, against a standard of 90%, we're approaching 96% of in relation to our response time. Our response time being met. And then finally, before I talk about kind of carbon output, the percentage absence, sickness absence, lost shifts is now at 4.11% against the target of 4%. And members will be aware that's an area of scrutiny for the authority. But what I would say is that's a significant reduction over the course of the last quarter in comparison with the previous quarter. So we're seeing an improvement in regards to shifts lost to sickness absence. But again, we welcome the authorities' scrutiny as part of our arrangements that we would have in place. And then the final key performance indicator relates to total carbon output of all buildings. And again, we will see a strong performance in that particular area. So from a performance perspective against our key performance indicators, that's a really strong quarter, and it's a really strong cumulative outcome, and we're hoping to maintain that through the rest of this year. If we move you on then members to the functional plans, what I don't intend to do is go through them in great detail. What I will do is I'll just highlight what I think is pertinent for each one of the functional areas. So draw you into the functional plan produced by the operational preparedness. The key primary deliverable is the delivery of the Training Development Academy, and making sure that our arrangements for training and staff are fit for the future. And that is where it's progressing well, and the completion date remains on course for April 2024, where we will see new training facilities built and the operational fire station go live at that particular point in time. And what I've done is asked Stuart Woods through Deb is to engage with members and offer members the opportunity to take a walk around the site as it currently is. Now it's got to a stage where I think it would be really beneficial for members to see it emerging off the ground. The facility is fantastic. I said to members before, there will be no better facility in the UK fire and rescue service, and we probably extend that outside of our geographical boundaries too. And we will come back to that as part of the strategy there about how we best utilise that facility now and into the future. But progress is on track and strong. If I move members on then to the operational response functional plan, again, I'll just highlight an action on page 42, which is the redesign of the fire control suite, including investment in new technologies. The reason I highlight that is because that is a report on today, which we're seeking members' approval from. But that is, establishes a different way of working, and certainly technologically advances the control room significantly from where it is now to where it will be in the future. I'll come back to that as part of the report. Moving members on to the next functional plan, which relates to people and organisational development. Again, it's been a real focus of the culture of the fire and rescue service and the work that we do with people, and how we can ensure that the staff who work in this organisation are looked after, valued, and they're contributing. But how we would deal with the needs of our communities too. And what I would say is part of that, and some of the observations made by members previously on page 61, just at the bottom of the page, it talks about 3.7, which was to design and deliver and monitor a 12-month trial of a hybrid and flexible working arrangement for staff. And that was based on the learning from certainly the pandemic and that kind of more digitalised approach, that kind of hybrid working. And we're now in the process of reviewing the work that was done to date to see whether A, it's beneficial for the individuals working within the organisation, we are more productive on the basis of that, and whether that meets the needs and aspirations of the authority to in regards to the work that we undertake. But indicatively, we've got a real kind of flexible approach to working now. Ultimately, it means that individuals in the service are in work in this building or in subsequent buildings more often than they are at home. But fundamentally, they are able to work in a more agile, flexible way. And we're going to come back to members with a report on that, which details the findings. Move on again to the prevention functional plan, which starts on page 67. What I draw members' attention to on this particular one is the work we do around youth education. And the reason I do that because it links directly back into our statutory duty around serious and organised crime and the work that we do around that particular area. So there's highlighted a number of issues around serious violence duty, youth education programmes such as the Beacon Project, which I know members have supported. We've also got the fire cadet units, which have been delivered in a number of locations. And we've got a member of staff who is seconded into the Violence Reduction Partnership as a direct response to the serious violence duty that will be applied to the service. And in a similar vein, but it's on page 75 under 4.7, it was to develop and deliver the National Fire Cadet Games. And I have other members at least seen some of the social media attached to the service in regard to the delivery of National Fire Cadet Games in the last couple of weeks. It was an absolutely brilliant event. We had 18 fire rescue service represented, and we had young people who were fully engaged in the activities at the Armoured Dock. And it was just a joy to be held, to be perfectly honest with you, young people sharing experiences and knowledge and understanding of the fire and rescue services, but real visual representation of what is the best about the fire and rescue service in its totality. And look, I would be remiss of me not to place on record my thanks to the staff who delivered that on behalf of the authority. They've done an absolutely exceptional job. Again, move on to page 81, which is the start of the Community Risk Management Protection Functional Plan. And again, what I will highlight on this particular one is the area detailed in red. So again, go back to the RAG rate, this is not progressing as yet, but the explanation in relation to that is contained within the section which says the Grenfell Tower Inquiry Phase 2 report will not be released until the start of the next financial year. Associated work streams will be rolled out in relation to the functional delivery plan for that in 24-25. So whilst it's showing as red, it's red because it's dependent on other parties, external Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service being able to support the delivery of that and the recommendation being discharged as a result of what they're suggesting. So again, I'll just move on to pick up on, particularly having just had a presentation on it in relation to protection on page 89. We've hosted two significant events in Merseyside over the course of the last number of months, which again, it would be remiss of me not to mention within the functional delivery plan. The first one being Liverpool's hosting of the Eurovision Song Contest, which again was an incredible event for the city, no doubt, but a huge amount of work for your fire and rescue service and the staff who work in them around their availability to ensure the fire safety of the relevant persons who are moving around the city or who are staying in hotels and accommodation over that period as well. Again, they've done a brilliant job there, and they were highly visible, and they were out from morning, noon and night in regards to making sure that the people of the city were safe. In a very similar vein, we delivered an incredible event in the Wirral, the Open Golf, which again was different than the Eurovision Song Contest for a multitude of reasons, but nevertheless, significant requirements placed on the protection teams in that regard. And again, we've done a fantastic job. Move on to, and again, I'll touch briefly on this, you've got the National Resilience Functional Plan. Haven't had a presentation at the previous learning lunch. I won't go into that in any great detail, other than to just say that the work that we do around national resilience on behalf of the Home Office is exceptional, and very much Paul Murphy will have detailed the work that we do and the kind of functions and responsibilities that we have. But self-evidently, the Home Office relies heavily in regards to the coordination of a national response to any eventuality, irrespective of which service it occurs in. And then strategy and performance. Again, I've got Deb in the room to my left. And again, a lot of Deb's work is around kind of coordinating the activity of the service. But to highlight one section of her work, she's just supported and coordinated the delivery of the Her Majesty's Fire and Rescue Service inspection, of which we are now waiting for that report to be returned to us. We're expecting it to come back in and around October time, which again will inform the authority in respect of whether there's work that we need to do or whether there's work that we are particularly good at that we can share the learning outside of Merseyside and into other fire rescue services. Like anything else, we are an exceptionally good fire and rescue service. I'm confident that that report will be strong and demonstrate the strength of the work that we do within our communities. And then the final one, we move us on to the finance, and again, just to emphasise the work that Ian does, but there is a bit of work that's going to be taking place over the course of this next 12 months or so, which is the improvement of a new finance, procurement, HR, payroll application. It sounds very simple, but it's more complex than that. And if you look at, funny enough, some of the implications around getting some of that stuff rounded on the technological choice for the authority in regards to the costs that can be incurred for that, we will be able to procure a system or systems which effectively deliver from a finance, procurement and HR perspective, and that was not an insignificant amount of work that we will be delivering for us. So look, that's captured not all of the function plan deliverables, but to give you a snapshot of the range of deliverables across all the functions of the area and the strong performance of the authority over that period. So, Chair, I'm happy to take any questions on any specifics.
Okay, well, first of all, I think we need to thank the Chief for a very comprehensive, and I think everyone will agree, a very positive report. There's some excellent figures and excellent issues highlighted there. I'd like to particularly mention the one that the Chief mentioned about the National Fire Cadet Games. I was able to go along in the morning. It was absolutely fantastic. It's great to see so many young people from all over the country getting engaged in such a positive way. It was absolutely brilliant. So anyway, there's quite a number of hands up. Councillor Thompson.
Hi. So can I just go back to page 21 on the report, number of deliberate plans in wonderful plan policies. I just wondered, because there are fantastic prevention measures at the fire authority, it's not just our responsibility, because in my ward, taking for example, I have 4 derelict buildings, 3 have suffered fires. One, it's almost on a weekly basis. And the drain on resources for police and the fire authority, I think, is terrible. Sadly, those small buildings are owned by the council. And I just wondered, is there any extra pressure that we can put on local authorities to say, because in my opinion, and I'm no expert, that these those buildings are not appropriately secured.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if there's anything else that we can do to make other people aware. If they have their responsibility as well.
Yeah, so we have an awesome team, and their focus is around tackling, as you say, behaviour, small fires, but also dealing with the likes of this and unoccupied premise, which, it's not necessarily young people regularly get into and set a fire set in those particular localities for probably a multitude of reasons. As is the nature of our work, we do work as a multi-agency response more broadly, so we do work with the local authorities to try and ensure that premises are boarded up and secure, and on occasion, bulldozed or whatever else which is required. So that work does take place and takes place on a regular basis. So our arson reduction team will know that, and know the premises that we are alluding to. And it would be fantastic if we could get the same level of support and ensure that where we've got a premise that is not boarded up, we can get boarded up. Sometimes the premises that are drawn are quite difficult to secure. And it's work in progress. But we are relentless around our pursuit of ensuring that the premises that go on fire really regularly. We know that we cannot pursue whoever has got responsibility. Sometimes it's by the landlord, sometimes it may well be the council owned premise. and they were very fed up with us challenging, whether they be private, rented or whoever, housing association, because it's important that we prevent those things occurring. So we do the work, we do it in multi-agency, and sometimes it's slower than we would want it to be.
Okay,
Thanks for any assistance or support, then I'm more than
Yeah,
happy to.
that would be appreciated. I think, as I said earlier on, I think it's persuading other people that they've got to do their bit as well. We can only do some good, and I can see that we are doing.
okay, thanks. Councillor Maloney.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to go back to page 24 because I believe it would be remiss of me not to say anything. It's the special incidents for water and the fatality of Carmen. I was actually in the community centre that afternoon across the road and I've seen what was going on. And all the emergency services worked really, really well together. It's a real sadness that it ended in fatality. However, I would like to thank the chief because it kept me informed all the way through that day and really appreciated that because at the time a lot of people were on holidays and there was only me that knew what was going on. So thank you for keeping me informed. I was talking to a girl in the community centre who actually runs the pit classes and she was telling me that she used to go around the schools talking about wild swimming and what effects it can have on young children. But that funding is all gone now. And it's such a shame because it shouldn't really be part of the fire prevention work. It should be, and I'm trying to get somebody to organise something that all the improved services work together to do something. Because 16 cases is a lot of cases if that's what we have in that time. Well, thanks, Chair.
Go ahead, yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Not specifically in relation to water rescue in that way, well, under those same sets of circumstances.
Youth service.
Yeah, however, what I would say is, I attended that particular incident myself, and you see firsthand the kind of impact that a 16-year-old child has on not only the family, but the wider community. And there's more work we can do. We have specific officers who have that special, their focus is on water safety as well as road safety and so on and so forth. I guess it's very similar to the previous answer, which is agencies once that it's about trying to raise awareness, it's about education, it's about ensuring people understand what to do in the event of. And actually, when you look at the circumstances and we talk about cold water shock, and cold water shock is probably the reason why so many people die when they enter the water. It's not necessarily because we can't swim or whatever, their initial reaction. And educating people how to deal with that is actually a primary focus. We actually know people like to wild water swim, we know people will swim. It's about understanding what to do when we start to get into trouble. That's kind of the primary focus for us. And we will do that, we continue to do that through education with our partners and the Water Safety Forum in regards to ensuring that not just St Helens, but more wider. And you'll note that obviously we've got the rescue units and the significant number of the rescues on the River Mersey. We save more lives on the River Mersey through the rescue units from a firefighter perspective, interestingly enough. And the reason people find themselves in the water can be different under those circumstances than they were in that particular example in St Helens. But again, we listen to me in a similar vein, not to pass on my absolute condolences to the family involved under those circumstances, and equally pass on my thanks to the crew who responded, because they did so really effectively and with absolute compassion.
Okay, thanks very much. Councillor Grace.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up page 73 about the youth education. Having attended the last brutal pass out of the Prince's Trust, it appears to be going from absolute strength to strength. The difference that those 12 weeks made to the participant's life was just so clear to see. we were certainly speaking to people there who've never been to a Prince's Trust presentation before, and were absolutely bowled over by it. And I know there were concerns about funding, Phil, and do we know how, if it's sustainable for the immediate future?
I think the authority has made it clear, and had done many years ago, that this was an area of focus for us, and we would want to support young people. I'll come back to a couple of things that I've said all that way around. With our adoption of the socio-economic duty around creating opportunity. So when you kind of reflect back on that from a partnership point of view, how do you tackle the question put to Andy Cook, actually, his chief counsel at the time, and he said, he was asked, what would you do to tackle crime, serious organised crime? And he said, tackle inequality and create opportunity. Right? So I think people were expecting them to say, well, who's on the beat and those kind of things, and he didn't say that. That's absolutely a mantra that I agree with. So, you know, we can tackle inequality, and certainly a lot of the focus of the work that we do in our prevention section is focused in on the areas of the heightened level of deprivation, but equally the public sector organisations, micro-organisations, and we need to create opportunity. The Prince's Trust creates opportunities for young people who wouldn't be afforded that. Now, more latterly, we were doing that way before there was a statutory duty on serious violence. However, some of the kind of changes in that statutory responsibility based on the authority now and other partners enables us to secure funding to deliver some of the things that we were able to do, or we're doing anyway. You see some of the work that we've done around the beacon courses, you see some of the work that we've done around Violence Reduction Partnership, very much dedicated on utilisation funding through that serious violence duty. So we're in probably a better place enough now than we were maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we were going through periods of real austerity, but equally funding and the challenge around funding some of this work will be with us forever. But as a real kind of focus for the authority, from my perspective, I've made it absolutely clear to me as the Chief Fire Officer that they want to continue to do this work and they want to tackle the challenges that we have as a service way upstream, and to do that you tackle inequalities that exist across Merseyside and you create opportunities for people in those disadvantaged areas of Merseyside. So we will continue to do that work and we'll continue to focus in that way.
Great to hear. And the other good thing is the partnership with the police is so much more obvious now. You know, they're now attending their part of it. I mean, that seems just very
Yeah, we've got incredible relationships with all of our partners, but particularly when we go back to the Violence Reduction Partnership, people who deliver and support communities through that mechanism. Well, we share the same kind of perspective, we share the same purpose, and that's delivering really good partnership work together. So it works really well now. So we're probably the best place, as I say, that we were.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I just say, I was at the same Prince's Trust evening that Councillor Grace referred to, as well as one the night before in Birkenhead. And I've got to be honest and say it's very difficult to fight back the tears at times when you listen to the young people getting up and telling their story about how literally their life has changed over the past few weeks. Whereas maybe a few weeks earlier they wouldn't get out of bed, they had nothing to get out of bed for, and now, you know, they see themselves very positive. Some of them have got jobs now, they've made new friends, and it really is emotional listening to them. I'm only sorry that we can't get a lot more people on these courses. Yeah.
Just to say that a few years ago, I actually played this course with the Ministry Parents.
Yeah.
And the difference in the first year to that last year when you do that speech, it makes you cry.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, Councillor Barron.
Thank you. I say several times, I think every time when this comes up before us, one of our jobs is to give scrutiny. And the only way that we can do that is to have the statistics, the information from an educated point of view like this. So it is important. It's important as well that we look at the number of greens. It's important that we look at the ambers and the reds and have a sort of an overview of what that's all about. But whilst we manage our own resources here, we've also got an opportunity coming up with, you know, there'll be a change of government, whatever shape, but we will try and promote the Fire Service Act, And amongst the things that we'd like to get in there is, for buildings, the sort of 3 strikes and you're out, 3 fires, whatever the rules are, and then we can start to send you a bill. If you've got an empty building that's going on fire all the time, you've got to do something about this. You can't just leave it. You have responsibility for those buildings. And we can't, on behalf of the rest of the council taxpayers, just pick up the cost of that. Similarly, on water rescue, we'd be seeking specific responsibilities for that, so that we can fundraise and work with. Did you go to the conference in Blackpool? When we went to Blackpool, just before the pandemic, there was a conference in Blackpool, 2018, I think. And we had a really big presentation by one of our chiefs who leads on fire, Dawn, yes, on fire, on water rescue. And it's a big issue, and cold water shock and all these sorts of things. And we've had some examples of that very close to home recently. Are issues that we need to educate. It's education. And then coming on to the main point I was going to make. So we work with the police. We've changed our rules many years ago on false alarms good intent. Some other fire authorities have never got round to this, and they're still, sending fire engines out, and they're still now looking at that. What's going to happen, certainly being led by the Metropolitan Police, is to say, well, we're not going to cover mental health call-outs. We're not going. The police are not going to go. I can't see how this is going to work actually, but that's going to be rolled out to some other fire services, police services across the country. It will have an impact on us. I know, Chief, that you've been talking to your counterpart, Chief Constable, but I think from members' point of view, this approach to dealing with mental health issues is something in the public sector that we do have an involvement with, and we will have to have a policy for. And much like we had a policy on sort of false alarms and so forth, we need a similar policy here, working with the police and other agencies, Merseycare and so forth, for how we're going to deal in the future with events such as this.
Great, thanks, Les. Right, yeah, Councillor Lamb, sorry.
Thanks. Quick last question. Just a quick one on page 24 again about the number of RTCs attended. It's jumped a little bit. I met with PCC last week, Emily Squirrel, to go through the Vision Zero document. It's kind of a road safety strategy for the region, which is trying to get to zero PSIs for 2040, 2041. So I'm really interested in this stuff, and I'd love to speak more about how this authority can work with police and local authorities. Using the fire as an analogy, really, if you've got a junction where crashes keep happening, it's the same thing as a fire that keeps happening at the same location. So I'd like to have a chat maybe about how we can work with the police and local authorities about improving that stuff.
Yes, thanks, Councillor. We've got an officer specifically designated to work around road traffic collision reduction. And so a lot of parts that within collision we work with. Our focus has been very much on driver behaviour. So the same location where an accident happens time and time again. Please have the statistics in regards to a particular instance, and that can change it environmentally. You can slow the traffic down. You can just prevent some of those things. But our actual focus has been on the brand of the fire and rescue service. Particularly focusing on young people, but it's young people 16 to 24 years of age, drivers who are either new drivers and before probably at that period of time drive a little carelessly and work too quick, and we need to educate them on the dangers of driving whilst checking the social media, not drinking, under the influence of drugs and so on and so forth, and we'll continue to do that. That's all part of the road traffic collision reduction partnership, if that makes sense. Very much focusing on changing the driver behaviour. We're more than happy to, if you're willing to, help you up with
I would urge again, if I'm honest, and I'd love to talk more about that. Building that works really. If you look at countries that manage to reduce collisions, it's more about changing the environment. Really. So,
look, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying specifically that's that,
Yeah.
we don't do that too. It's part and parcel of the aspects of it, increasing bad behaviour, changing the environment, and actually talk about enforcement to the police's role in enforcing driving. The local authorities' responsibilities around changing the landscape for drivers, and then the education part of influence and change behaviour. So it's a combination of those three aspects is the primary focus for us, but I'm more than happy to get the officers to get in contact and explain all our and then extend that beyond native fighting.
Okay, thanks very much. Anybody else got any comments, questions? Yep.
Going back to what Councillor Adams said about mental health and young people and suicide on the railways, it seems to be an awful lot of young males. Are we working with what agency around this?
Yeah, I suppose we do a parcel of the suicide partnership and so on and so forth. So trying to tackle mental health issues for young people, young males, but equally regarding what's in the suicide for people who aren't necessarily want to in recent years. And if I was to drive even anecdotally, my kind of viewpoint on that is our crews go to more suicides more recently than we have done previously. And so when I go back to those youth engagement programs, they are heavily influenced on trying to work through mental health of the young people. So our instructors who do political course, got mental health first aid qualifications and so on and so forth. So they start to see young people with mental health issues and then supporting them a bit more effectively. Now, how we then take what we do from a Merseyside perspective and extend that across the partnership, we do work with our partners. Two phones, one's how do you ensure the well-being of your own staff in the workplace, and our work is fantastic. And then how do we kind of contribute more broadly? And as it stands, our contribution is when we work with young people, we'll support their mental well-being. If we go into communities where we have concerns over the mental well-being of an individual and it's a safeguarding concern, we will put that safeguarding concern through to the local authority in regards to the system and support them. But it is certainly a growing issue for the whole of the public sector. As Councillor Barham alluded to, having police nationally rather than locally change their policy on the response to dealing with individuals who are presenting communities with mental health issues, then that spills out somewhere. I suppose understanding where that spills out is a bit late too early to get that, but it will no doubt have an impact on communities and the fire and rescue service in some way, shape or form. And so understanding how these things link back together, I think is quite important as well. So if you can, I'll pick that up. I'll re-engage that kind of conversation, certainly with police constable, but more broadly around how we can go what's happening with the broader issues, certainly major care at the background and all that.
Okay, thanks very much. Anybody else? No, in that case, can we agree the recommendation on page 11 of the agenda? Agreed? Right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Move on to the next item, item 5, financial review 23-24, April to June, Director of Finance and Procurement, Ian Cummings. I believe the chief is going to take us through the report.
No, Chair.
No?
I hope not, Chair.
Well, I'm going to sack my script writer here, because I've got the chief going to take it. Are you going to take it through?
going
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. The report covers the revenue and capital budgets, reserves and treasury management updates to the 30th of June 2023. The revenue position is covered in paragraph 6 to 16 on pages 125 to 127. Paragraph 7 outlines the budget movements in the first quarter. The movements relate to planned use of reserves, drawdowns from the inflation provision to cover the firefighting 23-24 pay award and other inflationary pressures, adjustments to reflect the availability of external funds to deliver specific projects, and other internal budget requirements. As all of these adjustments are self-balancing, they do not impact on the approved net budget requirement, and that remains at 67.921 million. Paragraph 9 to 15 review the robustness of the key budget assumptions and the forecast spend for the year. The 23-24 payroll assumption was 5% for all staff. The 23-24 firefighter payroll has been settled at 5% and is therefore consistent with the budget assumption. The local government staff pay award has yet to be settled. The employer offer of £1,925 or 3.88%, whichever is the highest for the individual, would equate to just over 1% or 0.14 million above the 5% budget assumption. Due to the level of staff vacancies, settlements of 6 to 6.5% can be contained within the overall employee budget in 23-24, and the longer term funding will be built into the 24-25 budget process. Rising interest rates will result in an increase in the investment income yield, and currently this is expected to see additional investment income of 0.278 million above the budget. And members are asked to approve the use of this additional income to fund capital spend and reduce the level of capital borrowing. The table on page 127 summarises the anticipated year-end revenue position, and the overall actual forecast is consistent with the approved budget. The capital movements in the quarter are outlined in paragraphs 18 to 22 on pages 128 to 129. Paragraph 18 outlines the changes to the capital programme in the quarter. The rephasing of capital schemes at the end of 22-23 resulted in a net increase in the 23-24 plan spend of 5.688 million. The cost of the Microsoft Enterprise Agreement was lower than expected, and this resulted in a reduction of 0.195 million over the 5-year ICT capital programme. The table on page 129 summarises the capital programme movements in the quarter. Paragraphs 19 to 21 outline the potential impact of rising PWLB interest rates and the cost of any new loans. The report recommends continuing the current practice of reducing investments, using internal cash, and if required short-term loans, to defer the need to take new loans out until PWLB rates fall. Reserve movements in the quarter are outlined in paragraph 23 to 25 on pages 129 to 131. Paragraph 24 outlines the proposed realignment of the current reserves based on the revised risks that the reserves are created to mitigate. In recent years, members have supported the use of one-off unplanned savings to increase the capital reserve as part of a strategy to fund new capital infrastructure and or reduce the required level of borrowing to fund capital expenditure. In light of the rise in PWLB interest rates and the task to defer new loans until PWLB rates fall, the report requests members support the use of 3.722 million of uncommitted capital reserve to reduce the level of required borrowing in the capital programme, which is currently 47.7 million. The general reserve remains unchanged at £3 million. Treasury management performance is outlined in paragraph 26 to 31 on pages 131 to 134. The performance of treasury management was consistent with the approved treasury management strategy. At the end of June, the authority held 32.95 million of investments, and a breakdown of these is contained in the table at paragraph 29. All investments are consistent with the approved investment strategy and within the approved limits. No new loans can be taken out in the year. In summary, members are asked to approve the proposed revenue and capital budget adjustments, approve the use of the increased investment income of 0.278 million to fund capital expenditure and reduce the level of required borrowing, approve the realignment of reserves and the use of 3.722 million to the available capital reserve from capital expenditure and reduce the level of capital borrowing, and instruct the Director of Finance and Procurement to continue to work with managers to maximise savings in the year and use any savings to reduce the level of capital borrowing. I'm happy to take the questions, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Can I just ask one, first of all, on On page 126, paragraph 10, you refer to a number of key budget assumptions for 23-24. How confident are you at this stage that those assumptions will be correct? And what if at the end of the day there's some major changes there? How difficult is that going to be for us to?
That's a very good question, Chair. Obviously, the biggest issue was around pay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the firefighters jumped around, and that's 5%. So it's around the local government pay award. We discussed that could be around 6.5 based on the current software. The three unions involved in the negotiation, Unison, haven't had a instruction to or approval to go on strike. So I suspect they're in a position now where they set directly on the table. But I believe United and GMB might take strike action. Whether that has any impact on the increase, I think only time will tell. At the moment, the level of vacancies that we do have, particularly in the Green Book, we're probably looking at £500,000 to £1 million on spend on the Green Book. So with the pay award was higher than the 5, 6.5, even higher than that, the underspend of course to cover any settlement, the revenue and profit implications that then has on the 24 budget process, because you'll have to build in long-term funding when the higher pay award. The other big issue is around prices. We obviously in 22-23, inflation is significant around energy. That seems to have stabilised now in terms of energy, and we did build in the 23-24 budget 850,000 growth to reflect those higher energy costs. What we'll do is we'll monitor the situation, and we should financially review the board. We'll report back on the adequacy of that inflation provision. I think at this point in time that will be satisfactory. However, when we look at the reserve section, we'll see the reference to inflation reserve, even after reducing that down to £700,000. That would be a fallback if anything that came out of it. That we didn't see, that would be the default for that inflation reserve. And then the long-term funding issue of high inflation.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Thank you very much. Anybody else got any questions, comments? Yeah.
It's not a question, it's more clarification.
Right.
I just wondered whether there was a time limit on this, because I would have thought that this would have gone to policy and we thought, and not come to community safety committee. Right.
This committee does have power to make.
I understand it does have the power, but what I'm thinking is there a time limit that we need to get this done now?
The policy resources committee meets in December with 42, and I'm sure we'll do the report. I think I was keen to bring it to this committee rather than it would have probably gone to the audit committee, was to get that approval to reduce the stress on the level of borrowing that we require
That's what
and
I'm
get the
thinking.
approval to utilise. And we did, and I think I tried to reference it in the report and the introduction. We have delivered over a number of years now what we want to savings and increase the capital reserve with that intention to reduce borrowing. So I think it's reached the point now, as the increasing the interest rates, to make use of that plan.
I understand that, but I just thought this, what's the rush here? That's how I felt when I picked up into finance on community safety. I'm satisfied with the answer.
Yeah, and it's also saying that we do have to consider whether to borrow just help reduction in the overall level of borrowing requirement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we able to agree the four-part recommendation on pages 1, 2, 3 of the agenda? Is that agreed? Right, thank you very much. So we move on to item 6, fire control investment in new technologies and room redesign. And I think I'm right in saying this time it will be presented by the Chief Fire Officer.
That's correct, Chair.
That's
Thanks, Chair. The purpose of this report is to request that members approve the proposed redesign of the fire control room and invest in technological advancements in order to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of our operational response. And I'll talk about some of the areas in paragraph 7 of the report. But the recommendations, specifically its recommendations that members approve a new capital scheme for the redesign of the fire control suite at the cost of £95,000 and request a drawdown of £89,000 from the capital reserve to fund those elements of the upgrade in fire control cannot be covered within existing budgets as detailed in paragraph 16 and 17. And members will equally be aware at the budget strategy day on the 19th of January we discussed investing in that technological advancements in the control room to assist us to be able to respond quicker. And ultimately, we are going to consider our future strategy day, some of the proposals for our community risk management plan in 2024 through to 2027. And some of these things are definitely enablers of progress and our ability to get quicker to respond to the public of Merseyside. And whilst it's a £95,000 kind of investment, that investment will see us improving in a multitude of areas. So if I take members then to paragraph 7, and the media wall or a visual representation of the control room in relation to details of what's going on in certain areas at certain points in time. Sometimes that's restricted to an individual within their screen, it can't be seen by others, and being able to relay that onto a screen so it can be picked up by other members of the control room self-evidently is an important technological advancement. The reason I say that is because the first bullet point that we'll come to on paragraph 7 talks about the evacuation guidance template. That relates specifically to Grenfell Tower recommendations and be able to track where members of the public are who are in distress or being pacified, survival advice guidance are, and that allows us to then effectively ensure that we are evacuating that premise from the scene, but also the information from the scene is being relayed back into the control room, so when the control room are passing fire survival advice, or changing the approach from evacuation or stay put to simultaneous evacuation, they're able to follow and track that relay of information through that system. So you understand if that's sat in front of one person's screen, we want that to be portrayed across the whole control room so we can all act simultaneously. Equally, as part of those broader changes, it will also facilitate the use of Aura. Now, Aura is being explained to members previously, but just to give you an oversight, it's a dynamic tool. So as it stands, we have 10 key stations. We have 10 key stations, not we have 10 key stations, but we have more stations than that. And what we do is draw an isochrone of our tendering response standard, and it's based on building rather than the fire engine. So when the fire engine is out in the community, so if ever the isochrone changes the circle where a fire engine can get to within 10 minutes, changes. Now Aura now starts to track that. So it starts to track fire engines rather than fire stations, if that makes sense to members. And then they are able to ensure that if there are fire engines deployed to one area, we would be able to see the gaps on the map of Merseyside and then redeploy other fire engines into that area to counter cover that particular risk. And again, we would want to be able to see that on a media screen so all control operators can understand where the fire engines are and how to deploy them. Equally, we talk about some of the other advancements, and I'll skip past the Vision 5 and update the National Resilience update. I'll take members to the fifth bullet point, which is response I-999 called elsewhere. And what that has the ability to do now, or the technological advancement it allows for, is if I am at a scene of an incident, I'm a member of the public, and I've got my mobile phone with me, I can actually allow the control room to take over my phone and ask them to direct the camera to that particular scene. So if I was stood outside a high-rise building akin to Grenfell Tower, the control room would not only be able to get the call in to say there's a fire there, they would be able to ask the individual to show what the fire looked like. Now, if that's the difference between someone envisaging in the control room, that's a small fire in a lobby, as opposed to a large-scale fire up the side of a building, you will understand that the abilities that the control room can deploy will be significantly different based on technological advancement there. Yeah. So that all these technological changes will allow for that improvement within the control room. It talks again about live feeds on the bullet point down. Live feeds are we have drones now within service, and you can get the information from the drone in a very similar way back into the control room and allow, if it was someone who's at the tactical or the strategic meeting, to go in to the control room and observe what's happening live stream on scene, and then allow the decision making to tactically and strategically to be enhanced. And it will also provide meteorological information, so we'll be able to track weather and weather systems, and particularly important around wildfire, flood and so on and so forth again. And then it would be able to utilise it effectively to operate a coal mine system and a alerting system too. So that is all around the technological advancements and that real visual representation in the control room of information flowing from seeing back into the control room and back out again. And then we've also sought to improve some of the refurbishment work within the control room, which is captured on paragraph 8 through to 9, really, and that's just improving the technology within on the screens and also providing better facilities for staff. And what I would say, members, again, being very prudent around where we spend our money. Paragraph 9 clearly details that all existing furniture will be relocated into the secondary control room within the new TDA. And that's because, there's still life in that furniture. And self-evidently, it would be utilised less in the secondary control room, but we would want to reallocate it rather than just remove it and dispose of it in a different way. And so it kind of gives you an idea of where we are seeking to go as a service and to continue to improve and certainly to improve the outcomes for the public. What I would also say is wrapped up in some of the things that we'll talk about that strategy day is the ability to enhance our mobilisation. And as I say, I won't go into the detail now, but it may well give us the ability to reduce the response time to the public emergency salary up to a minute. So again, what's enabled through these technological advancements. What I would conclude on is an quality impact assessment concluded within the report, which kind of details the implications of obviously in the most possible way in regard to staff and the community in regard to the response. What they ask from the authority for the return back to the recommendations is that broadly that we support the new capital scheme for the redesign of the fire control suite at the cost of £95,000. I'm happy to take any questions on any specific elements of that.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Thank you very much. Right, Councillor Byron. Okay, Councillor Malone.
Yeah, totally agree with what's been said. Sensible, reverge, touching in the ears.
We'll do battery in the hearing aid.
Well, it's the body cam. And I know it's been talked about shock systems during body cam, how sad things become. But with this, if the person didn't want to work on the cam, would it be able to have the choice?
The way we've rolled out on the body cameras, it's been predicated on command roles, which is anything else. So when I see them being utilised, so if I'm taking charge of a strategic meeting or I'm the fire goal at any particular point in time, that body cam, if I'm being absolutely honest, is safeguard for me. Because what it allows me to do, it allows me to make decisions for people in external of the scene at the time, understand what the context of that decision was and what information that I had available to me when I made that decision. And so from a command perspective, that's absolutely integral to making those choices. Absolutely. In regards to Operation Cruise for their protection, because actually when you're on a fire engine, people may choose to wear body cameras because they go into a scene which is difficult. And actually, we've had evidence to suggest that if people are being aggressive, if you see someone with a body worn camera on, it kind of tones down their behaviours. Equally, we see them being utilised quite significantly within our protection teams. And where I describe that is they go into a Grenfell Tower, by way of example, or a complex building where some of the fire safety expectations aren't being met. What they will do is they'll put the body worn camera on, they'll turn it on, they'll walk through the building, they'll walk through fire door, its hinges, external tab, ineffective, so on and so forth. So we capture in real time what the fire safety inspector saw. And so when we are then seeking to either restrict use of that building or prosecute an individual, then we have a real life kind of understanding of what the circumstances were. So whilst we are not necessarily at this moment in time forcing someone to wear a body worn camera, we think the case is compelling, particularly in regards to the command but also capturing evidence at the point of time for people to want to wear them. But I'd say they are there to protect the individuals and we fully capture information. So we haven't come across any opposition to be perfectly honest with you. But in my view, probably for staff. For all the reasons, all the positive.
I totally agree, but I think people sometimes might want to try something, whether we give them that chance or not. But the live feeds, I mean, absolutely brilliant. Can you imagine the amount of life it meant to say if we'd have done that in the arena?
Okay, councillor Byron.
Yeah, thank you on that. I mean, body worn cans are coming, but we're not there yet with all of it. For instance, in London, Metropolitan Police, every police officer will be given a mobile phone and it will be a disciplinary offence in a work scenario not to use the official phone. You can be sacked for using your own phone. Well, I think it's more about all this, messages that people are sending and so forth. So all the blue light sector, I know that we won't be in that situation, but there's a lot happening that we've got to be on the top of. And new technology is providing opportunities, it's also providing dilemmas. In this case, members went into control, going back to control, members went into control about January, and we had a very good, I think we actually gave a presentation in here on these proposals, and then we went in and looked at the situation. Because we consider you send a fire engine and a crew of fantastically trained, willing people, but actually some of the elements of every operation is undertaken in control. Some of the response, the dynamic response, some of the talk through, some of the reaction management is managed through control. They are an integral part of what we do to keep the public safe. So having that investment is well called for. Improving the technology. Well, technology is changing, we know this every 6 months. So we've got to be on top of that. While we're spending this money now, we must be and should be prepared to spend more and more to ensure that we're right on top of the latest available technology to keep our people safe and keep the public of Merseyside safe, because that's what we've always done.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? No? Okay, so are we able to agree the recommendations on page 155 of the agenda? Yeah, okay. And I think that's all on the agenda, except to remind you, the next meeting will take place on the 30th of January 2024.
Don't say it, Brian.
So, I don't want to wish you all a happy Christmas.
Obviously.
Okay, I won't wish you all a happy Christmas. I didn't get it.
But also to remind members about the strategy day, which
Okay.
has been moved backwards to the, can't remember, the 21st of September, that's right.
In case you don't get the memo.
And it's, kick-off time is normally 10,
Yeah.
9:30 assemble for 10. That's a pretty, important date for members really to come. This one traditionally, we look forward at budget planning and preparation for the end of the year and move into next year.